Do you know the feeling when you read a book that is just so good that it feels like you're actually living the story? I do too. And today I'm going to tell you about a master storyteller who has been creating stories that leave you thinking about them for weeks. This icon is Stephen King. Stephen King is not your ordinary writer. He has completely dominated the genre of horror writing, with more than 30 of his books becoming #1 bestsellers, according to Vox.com. King has decades of writing under him, and his stories have given us well-known stories and movies such as The Shining, Stranger Things, and It. Stephen King's novels and wisdom have impacted millions of readers, including myself, with his cunning and realistic writing styles and stories. My name is Annie Peacock, and in the next 8 to 9 minutes, I am going to tell you about Stephen King's success story by sharing, first, his life history growing up, second, how he started not writing his novels and stories, and finally, his accomplishments in books that made him the well-known author he is today. To start with, we'll talk about Stephen King's life history. Stephen King was born in Portland, Maine in 1947. He grew up with his older brother, and the two were raised by his mother after his parents divorced when he was very young. He didn't have a father growing up, and growing up without a father was hard for King. His family didn't have a lot of money, and his mother had to support him, his brother, and herself. King moved to Durham, Maine after his mother's parents became ill and moved in with him. His mother and his brother and him had to take care of his grandparents, and that was extremely hard on them as well. When his grandparents passed, he worked at a facility for the mentally ill. King went on to attend the University of Maine, where he wrote for the school newspaper. He graduated with a degree in English and married a woman named Tabitha Spruce. From there, he began writing his first novels. King worked at Hampton Academy as an English instructor, but with a growing family, this just wasn't enough money. So he also worked in a laundromat to help pay for the bills. King began using alcohol and drugs as an escape from his thoughts. But with the help of his wife Tabitha, he was able to stop the drug and alcohol abuse and start writing again. Next, we'll talk about how King started his writing career. Stephen King started writing at a very young age, it was an escape for him. He said, "From a very early age, I wanted to be scared. I wanted an emotional engagement with something that was safe, something I could pull back from," King told Fresh Air, according to NPR. He was super plagued with anxiety and nightmares as a child, and he found that writing helped him with these fears. After struggling with alcohol and drug abuse, King found that writing helped him put his thoughts on something positive. According to Business Insider, King started writing for himself, saying, "I did it for the pure joy of the thing, and if you can do it for joy, you can do it forever." Stephen King's accomplishments in books. Today, Stephen King has thousands of awards and accomplishments for his writing. To name a few, he has awards in World Fantasy, U.S. Magazines, Science Fiction, and Fantasy Writers of America, Los Angeles Times, and many, many more, according to the Stephen King official website. The Stephen King official website has a ton of awards that he's won and things that he's done in the past, and they keep up track with everything that's going on in his life. King has won almost every major horror film award there is, according to Vox.com. King's top 5 best-selling books are The Shining, The Green Mile, Pet Sematary, and Misery, according to themanual.com. In an interview with the Rolling Stone, King said that his favorite story he has written is Lisa's Story, which is the story about a woman who's coping with the death of her husband. It is clear that King's success is universal and has impacted millions. I have to share with you today a few of my favorite novels by Stephen King. To begin with, I have Skeleton Crew. This is a compilation of short stories that Stephen King wrote. The full book isn't one thing. It has a ton of different little stories in it, and it's really good for traveling because you can just bring it and read a couple little stories at a time and not really have to fully invest yourself into it at one time. The next book that I have is Pet Sematary. This is an amazing book. You can see how much it's been read. It's truly a great book, and it was also made into a movie. In this book, actually, Stephen King said that when he wrote it, he almost didn't publish it because it scared him so much, because it's just such a creepy story. And a ton of people have raved about this book. It's truly a great one. And the last one that I have is The Stand. I'm currently reading this now. I am this far into it. And this book is very good because it's super relevant right now. It's about an apocalyptic type situation, and it's really similar to what we're going through right now with the coronavirus. So reading it now is kind of impacted me in the sense that it makes you think about the world in different ways and just everything that's been going on around us. In this time, it's a good read. To restate what we've talked about, Stephen King's novels and wisdom have impacted millions of readers, including myself, with his cunning and realistic writing styles and stories. While we didn't get to go fully in depth on Stephen King today, we got to talk a little bit about some of the things that he's done and some of the ways in which he has truly impacted people. It's evident that he did have a hard lifestyle growing up. He did suffer with drugs and abuse, but he was able to power through it and do something in the end that he truly loves. In the last 8 minutes, I spoke with you about Stephen King's impact and success by talking about, first, his life history growing up, where we talked about his family life with his mother and his brother and growing up and the struggles that he overcame. Second, how he started writing his novels and stories through his young age desire to write as an escape and way for him to put his emotions into something positive for himself and for the world. And finally, his accomplishments in books that have made him the well-known author he is today. To close out, it is clear that Stephen King is an extremely successful writer. He has impacted millions with his ability to write in ways that pull the reader into the story and even empathize with the characters in the most intensive stories. It is King's story and accomplishments that make him so beloved by his readers. As King says in Dr. Sleep, no great thing is created suddenly.